Hi, guys, welcome back to Beyond the Girl. This is episode 5, and today we have a very special guest. We have Jasmine Shier. She is joining us. This is a very first episode with a guest, and hey, it's a special one. So, Jasmine, tell us a little bit about yourself, and for those who don't know you, just a little intro.
Yeah, so my name's Jasmine Shier. This is my first podcast, so bear with me. Most of you guys probably know me as Justin Shirer's wife, but we both just recently signed on to HD. He's doing his pro debut here soon, and I'll be doing nationals in the figure category in December. So, yeah.
Cool. So you're kind of new to the whole NPC bodybuilding competition world. What made you want to do it?
Yeah, so I did my first show in October of last year. I did a local NPC figure, and I got the overall, so I got qualified for nationals. So what got me into bodybuilding? It's kind of a complicated question. Most people probably think that Justin did, but my dad used to be a bodybuilder. He actually competed in the same show that I did.
Oh, wow.
About 15 years ago, and he won he wasn't, I think he didn't do masters, he did the open middleweight, and he won his class. So he had done bodybuilding his whole life. My mom also did a little bit of bodybuilding, so I kind of grew up in it.
Mm-hmm.
Initially I didn't jump right into bodybuilding. I sort of explored a lot more of the strength sports like powerlifting and CrossFit for a good 8 years or so before I decided to take on bodybuilding. I just really enjoy the challenge, and it's been a fun transition over from strength sports, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm liking it.
But it seems like you started off strong. Obviously, like winning an overall for your first show is like a big
Yeah,
accomplishment, especially in the figure
yeah,
category, because you guys have to have quite a bit of mass already in order to even be an overall winner.
right.
Um, so what obviously as a new, I want to say, like, competitor, because you have been very athletic throughout your whole life, you've been into sports and stuff, but obviously this
Hmm.
is a little bit different because it's less so of a skill based sport, if you know what I mean. Like, it
Yeah,
still takes skill and
yeah, it
certain
does.
characteristics to have as an individual, but what would you tell someone who wants to compete for the first time? What would be your advice,
Yeah.
especially
So
considering how much muscle mass you need?
you have to, I think, be kind of crazy. I think you and I talked about this a little bit. Like the type of person that is successful in a bodybuilding industry, you have to be really intrinsically motivated and able to kind of push through some dark places. Because dieting and prepping, it can be really hard. You know, it can be really isolating, especially if your family doesn't quite understand it. Luckily, my family obviously did it themselves, so they understand and are very supportive. But you have
Mm-hmm.
to realize that you need to make some sacrifices, and then understand how far you really want to take it. Like, how far are you willing to go, especially if you are interested in some of the divisions that do require a little bit more muscle. So as a female, you know, like how comfortable are you with putting on the size that you need to get that muscle, and you know, the sacrifices that need to be made. Like right now I'm in my first off season I've ever kind of officially done, and I'm pushing like a weight that I have never in my life seen, and I don't fit into like any of my clothes anymore. But you know, I understand that it's all for a purpose, and I know that those in my industry or like in bodybuilding know what I'm doing, and they're not, you know, judging me for being ginormous feeling.
I
But
know
yeah.
because when I saw you at Orlando Pro, which was when we met, which was,
Hmm.
I think, sometime in the summer last year, um, you were so lean and you were like
Yeah.
tiny, but like but big in
Yeah,
a
I think
sense.
I was well, I wasn't like deep into prep, but I think I had just kind of started. And I
Hmm.
really backstory to all that. Like I started prep initially last year in June, prepping for a CrossFit competition. So I was like dieting for a CrossFit competition because um, I wanted to like be in shape because it makes some of the movements in CrossFit easier when you're a little bit lighter. And then I don't know. I think I had some sort of life altering. I, I just like was I'm over this CrossFit thing. It was like driving me nuts mentally, physically. I hurt all the time, and I just randomly was like, "Justin, will you prep me for a bodybuilding show?" And he was like, "What the fuck?" Okay. So I was already dieting, and already like wasn't eating a whole lot. So we didn't have a whole lot to work with, but yeah, I was dieting already, and then just randomly is like, let's do this show thing.
Let's do this. Why not, right? That's all it
Yeah.
takes. And I think that's
Hmm.
what usually pushes whoever decides to go through with it is just like the next level challenge and just something new because it's totally
Yeah.
new. Like CrossFit, for example, you said I need to lose weight, not to like look a certain way, but more so to be more athletic in a sense, to do, for example, muscle ups. I don't know how you guys do those things.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That the gymnastics was definitely hard for me. Like I didn't grow up super athletic. Um, so I didn't have a lot of like body awareness when it came to like those kind of movements, but
Hmm.
I had like tenacity, and I ground myself into the ground trying to like learn these things. But yeah, I'm 32 this year in August, so I think I was just finding that I just wasn't enjoying it, and I wasn't enjoying kind of how my body looked. There's a lot of core bracing and like transverse plane movements in CrossFit, which means that you kind of build like of a more blocky
Yeah, block.
physique. I mean, some of the girls at the top, they look incredible, right? They still look amazing, and anyone would kill to look like them. But I was sort of not enjoying how I was looking, and I wanted to make a change for my mental well-being and my physical well-being, as well as like some aesthetic goals. So
Yeah.
I guess that's sort of how that happened.
And I think that goes in hand, obviously, with your partner, even though you guys were both into some sort of, I want to say sport. Um, I think getting familiar with what he does in totally a different community as well. Did you notice like a big difference about the community and how it's all like the interaction and dynamic between CrossFit and bodybuilding? Because most people think it's all about the weights and the skills and everything else, but how is the more emotional, like internal part of the people within the community? Is it different or is it the same?
Yeah. So, I did CrossFit for like 4 or 5 years. I wasn't like an elite athlete or at a very high level. I did do like some individual competitions. But I found that when I switched to bodybuilding, and I don't know if this was because Justin was already like a well known name in the industry, but I found everyone to be like extremely welcoming and really, really supportive, and like ready to see you do well on your journey. Like everybody just be hyping me up all the time, and I didn't really feel that in CrossFit. I felt very isolated, um very much not supported. It's very kind of clicky in the CrossFit community, and I did not feel that way at all when I switched over. And I know that probably at the elite level, and if you've been in it long enough, bodybuilding probably has its cliques and drama. But I felt like emotionally, I guess, happy to have made the decision to enter a sport where I was really like welcomed with open arms, and people are happy to see me succeed. And sometimes in CrossFit, I feel like it's not like that because you're always competing with and against everyone else. So I feel like sometimes that can breed a little bit of like contempt in the sport. Um, And we're competing against other girls too in bodybuilding, but for some reason, I don't know, it's just way more welcoming.
Do you think it's because obviously CrossFit is about literally fitness and endurance, and that is something that you decide, like it's up to you to win or lose, whereas in bodybuilding is up to a judge if you win or lose,
Yeah, I
right?
wonder. That's a good point. Like, it CrossFit is very like dependent on
Your
your
skill.
performance.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you can maybe not do as well as you could possibly do, but most of the time, when you present your package on stage, you've done everything you possibly can to get there, and it's just out of your
up
hands at
to
that
someone
point.
else. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
a good
yeah, it
point.
could be
Yeah.
simply the fact that 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 own self-empowering feeling that you win because of your performance can make
Mm-hmm.
you come across as like very standoffish or maybe not as welcoming to someone who's just starting, because endurance, performance, and everything crazy that CrossFitters do doesn't come like overnight or six
Mm-hmm.
months like a prep. Let's say for someone like that, like we it takes years for us to build, but in a prep per se, um, a skill like you being fast or increasing the weight to the amounts that CrossFitters do, maybe that's the reason why. But again, each sport
Yeah.
is totally different. But I'm glad you made the switch. Obviously, that brought you together to obviously like brought you to me. We got to know each other.
Mm-hmm.
It just like things like that. It just brings people in your life that make a difference. And then I'm just glad that I got to meet you.
Yeah,
So
me too. I really enjoyed the people that I've met and I've made connections with, and especially just going up to HD recently, meeting everybody there at Pure Muscle. Everyone was just awesome and kind and so selfless. Just they loaded me and Justin up with like gear and
everything.
supplements and clothes, and they're just like take it, take it, take it, and it was just the gym is awesome too. Like it's just a really good place.
Yeah, if you want to make the trip to Canada, you need to stop by Pure Muscle because
Yeah,
that was my home gym, and that was the hardest thing to let go when I
so
made to
I
Vegas
know.
when I moved to Vegas because it honestly has everything and anything that you could think of, and it's just crazy. And you get like not your average looking machine. It's like you have Panada, Hammer
Hmm.
Strength, like all the like premium machines, and that's something that it's a luxurious thing to have, and that I took for granted in a sense because I was
Right, I
there
know.
since day one. Before they
Yeah.
even opened to the public, I used to go during the pandemic. Thankfully, we had
Oh,
access to
yeah.
it. So it was
Uh-huh.
crazy because I took it for granted because the gym was never taken away from me, even during the pandemic. But then it started to grow, grow, grow. And then, I was so like desensitized to the fact that it was the greatest thing ever. And not to say the Vegas gyms are like not good, they are. It's just a next level. And because Dorian is very specific with the machines he likes. He's a collector of machines as
Yeah, he
well.
is a
So
collector. Yeah.
it's totally a different vibe. And Canada is just a different vibe in general. So I'm glad
Yeah,
you got to
I would
experience it
like
though.
to see me and Justin really want to see more of it, like especially downtown Toronto. We were there for such a short time and we were pretty busy with just like the gym and doing content. But next and he's obviously dieting, so we couldn't really do too
Enjoy the
much
food.
stuff. Yeah, but I really want to like go out and like I hear that there's so much good diverse like food there. Like there's a lot of Asian food, Indian food, so we're definitely
Tons,
gonna.
because Canada is such a multicultural place that you will
Yeah,
find
I
all
didn't
types of
realize that.
cuisine.
It's
Here
really
in
cool though.
Vegas
Yeah.
is very like Mexican, like Spanish, like Latin cuisine, and there's like quite a bit of Italian as well, but there is like not much Indian or Asian. I think that maybe I just have strayed away because Nick hates seafood and we never go to any
No,
places that have
really.
seafood.
He
Because
doesn't
even
like sushi
steakhouses,
or anything.
no, like no seafood
No.
whatsoever. Nothing. Not even if it's cooked a certain way. No, nothing. It just bothers him. Even the smell. If I warm up salmon at home, he just
So he
doesn't like
doesn't
it.
eat fish when he's prepping.
No,
Just
this
chicken.
guy is only steak and chicken, and then you're like once in a while turkey. That's it. but he's
Yeah.
very simple.
I'm not a huge seafood. I do like sushi a lot. I'll eat like whitefish on a diet, and I like smoked salmon, but like lobster and crab and like shrimp and scallops, that like oyster, that kind of
Okay,
I
oysters.
can't do that.
I honestly like got into oysters, but it has to be very specific where I go for oysters because I also don't want
Yeah.
to get sick because I've heard some horror stories about
Oh, like the bacteria that you
food
can catch.
poisoning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it literally just you drop dead on your bed for a while and
Yeah.
just you just both ends you're just nonstop.
That'd be. Can you imagine being taken out by an oyster, shitting
Oh,
and puking? Oh,
you better
that
drink
would
some Carb
be.
HD or some Intra HD.
That would be a sad, sad way to go.
Sad way to go.
Please don't take me out that way, world. Please don't do it.
No, do it like any other way, but just not that way. It's a shameful way to go, you know. But
Yeah.
obviously, talking about you making the switch to bodybuilding, um, did you? How do you? Obviously, getting into being with a partner who's like a pro elite and you're just starting out. Do you find it hard, or what are the things that you find hardest when it comes to supporting your partner to like go after what they do and everything that it takes? Because I know when you're alone, it's that much harder. Like I've been alone and I've prepped alone and it makes it that much harder. But when you have a partner who's fully supportive, or how can you become that supportive partner that they need in order to succeed at the level that they compete right now?
Yeah. Um, this is a good question for me because I will be the first to admit that I'm a good wife, but I'm not a motherly wife. I don't baby or like cook dinners and that kind of thing, but I he doesn't need that from me. He can take care of himself, but you just have to be like emotionally supportive and pick up the slack for your partner, when they're in those like trenches, those final few weeks of prep, when they're not emotionally available or have the energy to do their like whatever normal chores or whatever they do around the house. Like, you do have to be willing to kind of pick up the slack in those areas, and also learn to like operate independently, because they're probably, anyone who has had a partner or themselves have gone through prep, that those last few weeks you kind of come into yourself and become very like self involved, and aren't really aware of like other things going around you, and you might not be as considerate of your partner's feelings, or give your partner the attention that you normally do, and you on the other receiving end have to understand that you shouldn't take that personally, because it really is not reflective of who they are.
How they are.
It's a temporary thing, and they will come out of it on the other side and be that partner that you fell in love with. But just being supportive of their dreams and passions, you you can't take it for granted, in the sense that like having someone supporting your passions and your dreams is really like everything. Like, that's like the human connection, is having someone who understands what you want and is happy when you succeed, and does everything they can to on their end to see that you get there.
Yeah. So do you think there is like for example, for me, I think there is has to be like an understanding of obviously the fact that it is something that they can't avoid, especially because we've experienced it ourselves now. Okay, did it make a difference between you prepping and understanding what he goes through before you even did it? Like, because he did shows before you even started to get into
Yeah.
bodybuilding. Did it change your
Yeah.
perspective, or did it make the relationship a little more like smooth in the sense because now you could look at things from their perspective, and as a partner, you can be more supportive?
Hmm. Yeah,
Did you
certainly.
notice?
Like, when he did his first prep, I didn't obviously know what to expect at all, and so I was
Mhm.
very taken aback by, it was never like, it's never awful, but anyone that hearing this and has done it themselves can know that like it gets hard, and it can be really, really hard on your partner as well. But that first prep, I was definitely like, what? Where is he? Where did he go? This is bullshit. What the fuck? This is not fair. And then the following preps, we had conversations beforehand before it ever got to that point where I explained, like, bro, this was like crazy. Maybe be a little bit
I
more
was not
aware of how
expecting
you're
this.
you're
Yeah.
acting like this. And so the following all the preps after that first one, like, he's gone into them being aware of my needs and like how it affects him, and so he can tackle those things as they come. It's never going to be perfect. There's still going to be moments where I feel very alone, because I think that is one of the things that I struggled with the most, is just, even though he's here, just kind of feeling alone, because they're
To themselves.
so like self-involved and focused on their prep. And obviously now I've gone through that myself and completely understand, but yeah, you just feel pretty lonely. It
It
sounds
is
so
because
sad, but yeah.
I think it is a reality, though. I think at the 6 week mark, which is usually the hardest, where things start to really like
Mm-hmm.
not go downhill, but they go into a very depleted or very exhausting stage where it's all me, 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 me. Like, how do they feel? My next meal, my next workout. Like it's all about
Yeah, how am
them.
I looking? But
Yeah,
like, if
it's
they have a
just,
bad check-in, like, oh, that's fuck, like the
and
day's
it can
ruined.
ruin. Or if they're
Yeah.
like they were expected for the weight to go down, it goes up. It just sets them off right off the bat, first thing in the morning. So I think obviously as a partner, those things you want to help, because at the end of the day, you care so much about them that you want to make sure, or at least you say you're like more like less of that motherly kind of way, but I feel like I'm
Yeah.
overly motherly sometimes, and that is something that I had to grow up as, because when I lost my
Yeah.
dad, like when I was 3 years old, my mom was a single mom, so I always had to be the mother to my brothers in a sense, because I was the
Yeah.
leader when my mom was out there trying to work and fulfill both roles. So I was always that motherly, like
Yeah.
kind of figure.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's hard for me to let go of that. And I think that is where I come in, where how does he feel? Like I care so much how he feels. And sometimes, or where at least prep, the Olympia, I kind of got because we've gone through two preps, because he's always the guy who's like, no girlfriends around. This was the first time that he tried to mold his life to someone, because we really wanted to be
Yeah.
together and make it work. So it just became a thing where communication was key, and where I had to understand that it wasn't personal, or whatever is going on his end had to happen, because that's just the shit that he has to deal with. I'm not there to completely make him feel better, but more so make things more, I don't want to say easier, but easier to deal with, in the sense of relieving some stress from like things around the house, or if I can like help with his check-in pictures rather than him struggling taking pictures, setting up, making his things less stressful, where he's already dealing with a lot. That part is not up to me, but more so let him deal with his emotions, because at that point there's nothing I can do other than just
Yeah.
be there for him from the distance sometimes, because there will be days that he doesn't want to be touched, he doesn't want to be hugged, he just wants to like rest, or just again be to himself. So it's something that I did have to learn, or just certain, we will have, I said, okay, we're gonna have a keyword. Whenever you feel like I'm annoying you or pissing you off, you're gonna say papaya. So
Papaya.
so
Papaya.
we did that for the Olympia, because again, it was the first prep, and I'm like, well, we need to like know. So he'd
Right.
be like, if I'd be like talking too much, or just being
Because
like,
if
because I
that was like easier for him to communicate rather than like trying to
explaining,
explain how he was feeling.
it was just
Yeah.
papaya, and then I knew, and then I was like, okay, it's time for me to either shut up, walk away, or just
Papaya.
mind my own business.
Sorry. Yeah.
So,
You
um,
definitely need to learn how to have tough skin when you're with the partner who's, in the limelight and bodybuilding.
Yeah, because
Not that
it's
you need to
it's
let
tough
things slide, but kind of need to like let things slide because it's temporary, and then
to a certain degree.
you
Yes, one
can
thousand percent. And again,
you
it's
can
not
kick their
it's
ass
not
later.
it's not just your efforts. They have to also control themselves. Like there's no like yes, some compounds that can create change in behavior, depression, sadness, whatever they deal with, and especially the edgy part, when they're hungry, tired, and then you add a compound that makes them even more edgy. Things can get like,
Hmm.
I wouldn't say like violent or aggressive, but just more like
No,
snappy.
snappy. Hmm.
But there's no, and I think that's where girls either say, oh, it was this compound, that's why he is either screaming or verbally abusing me or all these things. And you to know that no, they still have control over their bodies. They have a time to either like maybe they can catch themselves or maybe you can bring it up to their attention, but there's no room for that kind of emotional
No,
or
definitely.
physical abuse, God forbid, obviously. um, if in that case, then you just need to get out of that relationship because that is
Yeah,
just
there's certainly no excusing crossing that kind of line. um, yeah, like you were saying, it's still them. Like they know not to do shitty things like that. Compounds only enhance feelings or behaviors that were already there.
mhm.
Inside that person. So if they were capable of doing something like that before, then compounds can enhance that. But they're still that's still your partner. That's still my husband. Like he's still gonna make efforts to treat me as I should be treated, with respect, regardless if they're feeling, overwhelmed or, emotionally unavailable. Like he's he still needs to remember to respect me as his partner.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it is a career, but it's also a choice they make for themselves. No one is telling them to do it, or suffering through prep is something that you choose. And I think
Yeah.
most people forget. I've forgotten before, and I just act as if I have to lash out on everyone around me. When at the end of the day, I chose to do this. I knew this was
Right.
coming. So why, for example, my mom, why does she have to put up with me being in a bad mood and just end up arguing because I was so edgy? And that comes with education on their end too, because she did learn eventually that at some point, if she was better off not calling me, she would just text me, is
Yeah.
everything okay? And I'll be like, yeah, mom. But she knew not to call me at like it was just to avoid issues, not because she
Yeah.
needed to um like kind of walk on eggshells because I was going to react a certain way. It was just I was in a headspace where I just needed to focus, and she
Yeah.
knew.
Yeah.
And
I
that
mean,
comes
that's
with
great that
communication too.
yeah, yeah, that's really, that's great that like she could recognize that, and knew that it wasn't like a personal lashing out, that it's just we're hungry and we're tired.
Tired over it. But
So tired.
oh yeah, tired. But the more I feel like the more energy you spend thinking about how tired you are, the more tired you feel.
Oh yeah, you could, I think, probably really get in your head about
Yes.
how you're feeling. Like the last few weeks, I got in my head that I was like, oh my god, my legs feel so heavy. They feel like there's like cinder blocks tied to them. And like the more I thought about it, the more I felt like, oh my god, I can't move. And yeah, I
Yeah,
think
because you're really just
definitely
centering. It's crazy
get
how
in your
powerful the
head.
brain is though. Because you're like literally just redirecting all your non-existent energy you have to feel like you have less energy than you already do, which
Yeah,
is why I've been like, don't think, just do. And I was on that mode, and that's how I was like getting through such
yeah.
extreme freaking preps. Because now that I think back, it's just I'm like, how did I actually go
Like
through
how
with
the
everything I
hell did I
did?
get up and do an hour of cardio workout? Like,
Posting,
the
every work, life, everything.
yeah, I am so thankful that I do not have like a demanding 9 to 5, because those of you out there who prep and have a 9 to 5, like, so I know some nurses that
I
are
was just
that
gonna
do it in a
say. nurses, doctors, like you gotta be all there. There's no
How do
prep
you
brain there.
do that? How do you do that? I just how
How
I could
it
not
I admire it.
imagine. I could not imagine that.
No,
I'm yeah, really really impressed with anyone who can do that because I felt pretty stupid towards the end.
lifeless. You feel
I
lifeless.
was in school, and I remember having like exams, finals, like within the last 2 3 weeks of my prep, and just being like, like what am I reading? Like rereading the same thing over and over, like not comprehending. I'm like, so
You're
I
like,
couldn't
what did I just
imagine
read?
having like somebody's life in my hands or like dealing with high stress situations. Like I really commend
Yeah, it
you for
takes
being
us
able
a
to do that.
different level of grit and brains because I would not be able to. Obviously, we spoke a little bit about compounds, and I had people. We did it like the Q&A box on my Instagram, and then there's people who want to know about how we deal with our partners. Obviously, taking compounds that are set to decrease the amount of years or their health in a sense, because there are repercussions to that, depending on how extreme you go, how much you take, what you take. But it is something that it is enhancing your body right now, but it is kind of diminishing its, I don't want to say lifespan because that sounds horrible, but it is kind of a fact. How do we deal with the
It's a risk,
fact
yeah.
that there
Yeah.
are like pretty high risks of like other
I
things?
feel like it's a really hard question and one that I, to be honest, have not spent a lot of time really like thinking about. I am not really someone who like lives in the future a lot or worries about the future. I'm a very like now type person, but in regards to like grappling with the thought that maybe what he's doing now is potentially going to take away years that we might have in the future, it is really scary to think about. But it is not my choice, right? Even though we are married and we've committed ourselves to each other, he still has the right to pursue his dreams and goals. And if that involves taking things like that may potentially pose a risk later on, then that is his choice. And obviously I'm in the same sport, so I
Yeah.
can't really say anything, like, oh, don't
Yeah.
do that, because I'm doing the same thing essentially. So I
But it's just
it's
I
hard.
think the part where how far you go or if you do it the responsible way, I think that is the thing. Obviously, as a partner and someone who I'm not a natural athlete either, so I can 100% say that compounds, especially for us females, can be very, very detrimental just because of the fact that we are so hormonally driven and how much we need to steer away from estrogen, which is the main thing that we are high on. To
Yeah,
get lean, you need like estrogen to drop to certain levels in order for you to look the lean kind
yeah,
of conditioning to bring it to the stage and to make a difference. But obviously, like as partners, it's just a matter of making sure that obviously they know as well, like to do it the responsible way,
yeah, they
keeping up with their blood
understand.
works,
Hmm.
medical reports, and all this stuff. But I think the hardest part for me, I don't know if for you, you've had to deal with like obviously the comments online, and then obviously people kind of telling you, "Hey, your expiry date is going to be before you even turn 30. Nick is 28."
Yeah,
So when
Nick
someone,
gets that a lot, and
yeah,
that's just it's so fucked up to say that. Like, even if you think that way, like, why would you ever say that to someone, especially with like all the recent deaths that are in bodybuilding? Just why are you saying that? Like, what are you getting out of making that comment? Like, I'm sure every competitor at the high level understands the risks, and saying that kind of thing is just it's really fucked up. Um, yeah, so
I guess there is no way to deal with it because kind of answering the question, and you said it too, you kind of accept it, but you also don't because in the sense of you're taking it day by day and you're making sure that you're doing things properly right now, so there's
Yeah.
no bigger repercussions or that someone just like completely drops dead any second now. Because I think
Yeah.
the biggest thing for elite people like Nick and obviously Justin is people think that the more you take, the bigger you are and the better placing you're going to get, or the more enhancers you take, the better your package is gonna be. And I don't think people realize that there is a huge genetic factor that comes into play when it comes to elite bodybuilders. Like not everyone's built the same way. Like not everyone's gonna have, for example, you as a
Yeah.
female, I will never be able to like build the back that you have because I don't have that density in that part of my body. Could I maybe
Yeah.
grow my legs to a
Even though,
wellness?
yeah,
Perhaps,
a
but
guy
not
in
everyone
last
has
place
it.
could be taking more more gear than the winner.
Yes.
It doesn't
And
mean that
I've
he's
heard, to be honest, like these like guys in men's physique taking like just as much, like if not more, way more than what Nick probably takes. So it's not about how much you take. I think people forget that taking steroids, taking PEDs is going to make you look a certain kind of way. When in reality, it takes. Nick never misses a meal. He never misses a workout.
oh
He
he
never
I feel like is
like
the most on it
yes.
guy. Like he is so on it. I've heard stories like from other people and Justin is like that he is with his meals, he's with his supplements, he weighs everything to the
Even
minute
his
gram.
pre-workout. His
I
pre-workout.
saw on I don't know
I'm
video
and
or
I'm like,
Instagram.
babe, do you want me to make it? He's like,
It's
no. I'm like, do you not trust me how to see a number on a scale and
like
just no. He's like
oh my
very specific.
gosh.
He's very specific about
Yeah, he's
sodium
on it.
intake.
He is on it.
And
He's
people take it also as like body dysmorphia. And yeah, there's a lot of body dysmorphia in bodybuilding just because everything is determined on the way you look. So it's going to create a hyper focus on like nitpicking parts of your body and what you intake, how much you intake, your calories, everything. But I don't think everyone has the discipline that, for example, um, Nick, Justin can have during a prep. Like that takes a next level of mental game because prep is mostly mental. And obviously, the genetic factor of you
yeah,
being able to look the part and it's the work ethic. So PEDs can do so much, but your work ethic will define your actual
yeah,
fate in bodybuilding.
yeah. You're training, what you're eating, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, your genetic background. Yeah, it all plays um, a much bigger role than the PEDs that you're taking.
Yeah. So for those out there that have the nerve to leave a comment, either on my, because sometimes I post a cute video of Nick and I on my page, and they're like,
I have seen
"Enjoy
some
him now, because
shitty
he's gonna
comments
die
on it.
soon." And I'm like,
Just
how can you actually go to someone's page and tell them that their partner is going to die when you don't even know what's going on? You have not seen the blood work, you have not seen any of the medical exams. Like,
right. And he's on it with his health subs. Like
yeah,
I know he
everything.
is.
Even his blood work. He got blood work done before prep, just to make sure everything's on par and like obviously good to go. And he's gonna get one, I
Yeah.
think, uh, in 2 weeks or something like that.
And
So
I know
he's
that Matt
keeping
really likes
track.
his guys to do like EKGs and like heart scans
Yeah,
frequently. So yeah, they're taking the precautions. They're making the risks, yes, but they're also taking the precautions. And I think that nowadays, like it's a lot more. There's a lot more knowledge and resources out there to take care of yourself
yeah,
appropriately.
and that overall awareness, right? But I just think there's a
Yeah.
lack of education or just lack of common sense to what you can say on social media because I guess the internet gives people some balls to say some horrible things.
Well, yeah, you're behind a keyboard. You're not face to face with that person. He might not see the comment,
It's the fake accounts for me, girl.
Yeah.
I've made Nick
The private, like,
because they
yeah.
go to his mom's page, they come to my page, and like I'm like, can you please just block them so they don't see what's on your page? They don't go to your mom or to my page to see like
Yeah.
horrible
Isn't that
things.
just crazy, though, how many horrible people, I think it's just maybe because social media has, created connections where we're communicating with people all over the world all the time. And like, I don't think it was really meant to be that way.
Yeah,
If you
like
think about it,
English.
I don't
Yeah.
think we're supposed to have access to this many people and this much information on like this little device. But I
It gets
think that
perceived so many different
it's
ways.
it's
And
exposed us to like these people that are just
yeah.
like bad people.
Yeah.
And
But it
they
is a
like
reality.
they're usually the loudest people in the room, right?
Yeah. Well, obviously with the social media, that gives a good segue into you. How does it feel, because they have x amount of followers, they are obviously working with big companies, they're influencers. Nick hates when I call him an influencer, but technically he
He
is.
totally is,
Okay.
though. He totally.
But
What, he's got like a million followers. He's totally an
yeah,
influencer.
I'm like, you're past the milli, so I'm
Yeah.
like, you're
Sorry,
officially.
dude. You're an
And he doesn't
influencer.
have the blue tick yet. And I'm just like, I think he
I think
gets.
you can like pay for that now,
I
right? Like,
know he doesn't even bother, but I'm like, you should be verified by now, just without even asking. But
I
anyway,
know that a lot of people do it so that they don't lose their account or whatever.
yeah. So
And
that
like
if someone
you
hacks,
can
then they can
recover
like
it.
keep
Yeah.
the, yeah. But obviously, them having a certain, I don't want to say like, let's say status or kind of like standard. Do you feel as a partner, and obviously someone who now is part of the industry, you're part of HC, you're part of like working with companies now that as well, that require content and all these things, and do you feel the pressure to have to live up to the expectations that they have to live up to, or or like even supporting what they do, because obviously we have to be there to take a picture, to help them with a video or something like that? How do you feel about having to keep up that independency of you being your individual, like Jasmine, rather than just Justin's girl, or me, Nick's girl, because that's what I'm known for now. Even though I was
Yeah.
building my personal brand way before Nick, and I still would with or without him. How do you feel about having to deal
Yeah.
with that
Yeah.
pressure
That
that
is,
you
yeah,
think people
hard.
put on you, but it's you putting it on yourself?
Yeah, so essentially, living like you're saying, living in their shadow pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And at first that was extremely difficult for me because I am not someone who sees themselves as an afterthought or an attachment to somebody else. I want to be known for my own personal achievements and my own success. Um, other side of flip side of that is that I want to be supportive, and I'm happy for all the success that my husband has received and all the attention that he's getting. So at first it was difficult for me, but you have to remain supportive and advocate for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be complacent. If you don't want to just be that shadow or that afterthought, you have to advocate for yourself. Even if you are not in the same industry as your partner. Let's say you have this famous influencer partner and you do something else. Focus on supporting your partner, but going after your dreams, your goals. Advocate for yourself. Push your own agenda while remaining supportive to your partner. It doesn't ever bother me when I have to like stop and take a picture for someone. Like I enjoy doing that. It doesn't bother me at all. Or taking a picture for Justin with like his fans,
Mm-hmm.
his social media, like him getting messages and comments from girls, guys, whatever. That doesn't bother me either. Like I feel like me and him have a really really good relationship where we completely trust each other. None of us are jealous. So I think we're really lucky in that sense that we don't have any issues in that regards, because that can be extremely destructive to a relationship,
Yeah.
especially if one partner does get a lot of social media attention. But I am not bothered in the least by it, because we do have a really healthy, trusting relationship, and he does give me a lot of like affirmations, and it reminds me that he loves me and I'm beautiful, and so I feel secure, and so that part doesn't bother me. The only part that bothered me at first was like feeling insignificant in comparison,
Yeah,
but
because they're getting, it's not that they get all the attention, but you feel like they're accomplishing all these things, but then
and you're
you're
like,
there kind of like,
what about
I
me?
feel a little lost, but it's not
Yeah,
them. It's like you, because you're like, okay, well, where do I go from here? Where is the way out where I'm like doing something for myself to feel fulfilled?
yeah, you do. You
So,
have to look for those avenues, that
mhm,
make you feel like you're accomplishing what you were set out to do, and like you were saying, feel fulfilled, and so um I guess I started doing that, just finding things that made me feel like I was accomplishing things, like going back to school, or even just like simple things like starting new hobbies, like started painting a lot, and then
the Spanish
I
class,
the Spanish
the
class, yeah.
Spanish class.
You're gonna be my new teacher.
She's Spanish now. Next
So
podcast
yeah,
will be all in Spanish.
advocate for yourself. Yeah, we'll have an immersion podcast next
Yeah,
time.
me translating everything.
uh,
AKA.
¿Qué?
Okay, no entiendo.
Oh, no comprende, lo siento.
You're like, lost my signal. Bye. Just completely out.
Adios.
Adios.
But yeah, so advocate for yourself, but remain supportive, right? Like, you know, don't build resentment towards your partner, because that's totally unfair. But don't forget to advocate for yourself.
And I think that's hard. I think that personally, the toughest part for me, or where I found myself a little bit in a pickle, was after all the preps were done. So now it was time to like less attention on him, more attention on me. And I was like, oh shit. Okay, well,
Mm-hmm.
I've kept up with my content. And then I was like deciding whether I was competing or not this year. And I was one foot in, one foot out. And I was just trying to tuck myself into things. And then I think it was also the transition period I was having from moving here, where I just didn't know what to do because I didn't have a routine here. I had my clients back home. I had my job, like, personal training,
Yeah.
and I could just do whatever, right? It was a more free life in the sense of I could get an extra job because I could work there. And here's a little different just because obviously I'm going through a process and transition of moving to the US. And
Yeah. That's a
I
big one.
think there's where I was like, okay, well, I was helping Nick with his content. I remember I used to get some shit for the editing of the YouTube videos because when he was prepping for the Arnold, I was like, hey, we need to start putting more content out there because for the Olympia, he kind of like neglected that part. And I was like, hey, I wanted to feel like I was contributing, And that was
Yeah.
my way of feeling, okay, well, it gives me a little purpose when I'm here. I still have my own like clients, but I'm like, I need more. And I needed to feel like I was contributing more.
Doing,
So I'm like,
yeah.
I'll do your filming. I'm already there like at the gym or like training with him sometimes. So I'm like, I'm just gonna film for you, edit the videos, upload them. But then once prep was done, he just started to do his own thing, hiring people. And then I felt a little lost because I needed to pick it back up and start either putting content out there or just like, working on myself again.
Yeah.
And I think
Finding your
that was,
way. Yeah.
yeah, finding a routine because my routines were go in the morning, take check-in pictures, do cardio with him, kind of go about my day with him in a sense. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I need my own routine. So I started to either go for walks with Tora first thing in the morning, and then I would just have my coffee in the morning. It was kind of creating that
Small
isolation from
things
him.
can have a big impact.
Yeah, and it was
It's
tough at
true.
first because I felt a little bit kind of like dependent in the sense of I feel like, oh my God, what do I do? So it felt like totally new. And this was a part where I felt like I was just Nick's girl, to put it in like simple words. And then I just had to find myself again. Like, no, I'm Maria. I'm my own person.
Yeah.
I'm doing my own things. I have my own potential. It's just
Exactly.
I created that Maria routine that I needed to create. And I'm still working on it, obviously, because there's so much you can do when you're waiting on papers. But it's just things like that. And I think for me, that was the turning point where I'm like, I need to be careful how much I let myself go, because
Mm-hmm.
we have to put ourselves in the back burner with our emotions, with everything when they're prepping, because there is no talking about your emotions with them. It's mostly them telling you how they feel if they want to tell
Yeah.
you.
It's most,
So
yeah, the conversation definitely becomes pretty one-sided.
yeah,
Um,
it's kind of like a
and that's
selfless
okay.
period.
Like, that's okay, you know. Yeah, I'm so proud of myself for getting through that.
It's tough because you don't want to add more to them, but you're like, my feelings matter,
Yeah.
but then it's like I have to kind of save it and just deal with it myself. And then once you're done, you're like, fuck, you feel kind of burnt out. You do. People don't think it
Yeah.
is, but it does burn you out just as much as they're burnt out from prepping. You're burnt out from prepping with them in a sense, because you are.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're like, when the fuck is this gonna be over? But luckily, like when it does, you know, it is
They
over
come back to
and
life. Yeah.
they come back to life and that person that you love comes back. You kind of like, I don't know, for me, I'm like, whoop, forget about it. Like, forget everything that just happened. It's like as if it never happened. And like, I'm just happy and we're happy and I'm just going on with my day. Like,
Yeah,
it
and
is
that's the way
crazy
to
how
go.
quick that transition
I
like,
know. It's like a snap of a finger, or like just
oh, everything's fine now.
a little bit of food will do it. And it's also their mindset, because I know how much pressure they have on them as
Oh,
bodybuilders.
yeah.
Honestly, it's like the
Especially,
pressure they have is crazy.
especially being in the public eye as much as Nick and Justin are,
Yeah, because he's up and
is
coming. He's
and
making
yeah, like
noise.
there's so much pressure. Like, he feels confident, so he doesn't really let it get to him. But I'm sure maybe inside it
He
does
struggle. Maybe he struggles and
subconsciously.
he
Yeah,
doesn't. Because they'll. I'm like, I always tell him, because again, I have to check in you with him, because he's not very expressive. So sometimes I tell him, because he's like, I'm fine, but you can tell they're not fine. Like, someone's energy can, like, their aura can tell you exactly how they feel, especially if you know them. So he'll be like, I'm fine. And I have to remind him, I'm like, it's okay to be vulnerable with your partner. I'm like, I'm not going to judge
yeah. Let it
you.
out.
I'm not
Let
going
it
to
out,
think
baby.
you're such a puss, No, I'm never going to make you feel like your emotions or breaking down, maybe, or feeling like you're a little bit, like, not insecure, but you feel like the nerves, you're scared, maybe you're nervous.
Yeah.
It's okay. You're human.
I
You
think
don't have to
they're
play the
they're
tough guy all the
afraid
time.
to maybe admit some of these feelings that oh, like it's almost like admitting that they aren't on track, or they're not going to look good, or they're not going to place where they want to. Like, maybe verbalizing, like saying these things out loud is scary because they don't want to make them true, because sometimes like saying things out loud can make them too real. and i
Hmm.
and that I'm sure a lot of what they're feeling is probably based around those fears.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. And I think the fear I feel like the most, like, sticks out to me is obviously the fact that people talk about Nick not having an aesthetic physique. Um, and I'm just like, look, you hold on to your strengths, which is not everyone gets to be a mass freak. And I'm like, that's your freaking shocking factor. And that's what you go with. That's how you've got to where you are. Now you are refining. You're working your way up into working with what the mass that you have and making it look prettier. Because unfortunately, when you're born with a structure, you cannot change and morph however you want to morph.
Yeah,
There is a point where your body starts to, like, shape the way you want it, but you also need to, like, accept that you may have a long
you
torso,
have
or.
limitations. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's the things that you have to work with. And I think sometimes I know when people are like, oh, they're going the aesthetic route, that can get in someone's head, because you're like, well, that's not my strength right now. So I just think that I'm like, go with your strengths, keep being the freak that you
stay
are.
stay in your lane essentially. But yeah,
Yeah, just kill it. Just go with what works for you. Just go with what makes you different than everyone else. So, and I think that's when they can go like a little in their heads. They're like, I'm not as big, or you know. But I know, like, I've seen pictures of Justin. He looks freaking insane. Like
Yeah.
he can pull a vacuum.
Yeah, he looks amazing right now,
Does
and
he practice his vacuums?
he's been practicing posing with KJ Center Stage Joey, from
Mm-hmm.
Dragon's Lair, and they do. They're gonna start doing like twice a week, but he runs him through like rounds of mandatories, and he has him hold the vacuum in a few shots, and he he comes out of those Zoom sessions like,
Oh yeah,
like
Nick used to do it too.
yeah.
Um, he did it when he was in Florida, and he will call me after, sweat like he just worked out,
they're like
literally.
they're
I'm
like he's
like,
like
you did
bent
it
over the
right.
kitchen counter like it's so
They're so not in shape when they do that. And I'm like,
well,
dude.
posing. I mean,
I
I
saw her today.
figure
Joey's
posing is not
wife.
that
She looks
crazy. Oh, did you
insane.
really? Oh my god, I love her so much. She looks so amazing.
She
She,
is fucking jacked and
I want
shredded.
to be like her. But I was gonna say that figure posing is not all that difficult. Like it's just a couple quarter turns and a front relax, but some of the shots that the open bodybuilders have to hold, are so taxing. Like even a figure posing when you're depleted and you're on stage and you have to hold it, like it can be tough. So I can't imagine what it feels like to hold all those mandatories, like, and with a vacuum.
I
Oh
do
my
I
god, I
do
think I
kind
would
of
die.
resent them because they get to relax on the sidelines. For us females, we're
Yeah.
already wearing heels. We have to keep this on the fucking twist and that
I'm like,
freaking
oh
smile.
my back is cramping, my face
Like
is
at the
cramping.
Olympia, I don't know if you saw, but Nick was on the sideline. He was
Was
picking
he
a wedgie.
chilling?
He was like this, and I'm like, what is he doing? He
No,
was
I
he was
know. I mean, did you watch the Toronto Pro? Where I'm not, no shade here, but like how Ian just like went off the side after they had done their comparisons for his
about to dry off the
whatever.
sweat.
He just like no, he just like walked off stage, and everyone else was like in a line behind,
Yeah,
and
they
he
get
just
to
like
walk off if they
he's
feel like
like,
going to the
I'm gonna
bathroom.
go take a little sip of water.
If they feel like wiping the sweat, they can go backstage and leave
Yeah,
the stage. And I just think I'm like, they just like informally, I guess they can do whatever they
like
want. They're
that's
the big
great. That
guys.
sounds awesome. Yeah.
Like they can fist bump, break jokes on the sidelines, and then there's
And
us.
they're like
Just
slapping each other's asses, and
yeah, it's
then
crazy.
the girls are like scowling at each other.
Girl, the amount of times my mouth was just shaking, like I'm like I'm fucking cramping, and your lip is like
Mouth
actually shaking,
quivering.
and I'm just like,
Your
can they
chin
see
is
it?
quivering.
And then you kind
You
of
got
like
like a
let it
cheer,
go.
like running.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Oh
Like,
my
dude, for the Olympia
god.
Amateur, I was posting and I was so freaking dehydrated. When I was doing my routine, no one noticed this. Well, I did stumble a little bit because when I hit my back pose, I pulled my calf. Like that shit was
Oh, it
like cold
cramped, or it just
cramping,
like,
and then
oh, that is
the
the
pain.
worst.
So when I stepped back to whip my hair, not only was I not ready for my extensions to be that heavy because I never practiced with
You're
my
like,
extensions
my
on,
calf.
I literally was like, whip it, trying to look all hot and spicy.
Sassy.
No, girl, I lost my grip and I kind of just like,
You
and
almost
I'm
fall
like,
down.
I had to recover it and look like I wasn't in pain, like I wasn't just embarrassed. But yeah,
What? Sounds like you pulled it off. Jeez.
I did. And then after, I'm like, you guys did not see that my lip was fucking
Like limping
shaking.
off.
It was horrible. That's the worst I felt, the best I looked. Isn't that
Oh,
ironic? But
great.
hey, whatever. I'm still here. I survived.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I saw a video Valerie posted. I think Valerie was it. Val? Who was it?
was it
Where
with
she
the
got?
tape on stage?
Yeah, was it
Yeah, it
Val?
was Val. I'm like, what
Yeah,
are
she
the
got
odds it
taped.
happens to Val?
She got tape stuck on her foot. She was like
That
kept
guy
going.
saved her
She
life.
he like the guy comes by guy to like yank it off and like pulls her foot like,
I
but
saw
she
it.
doesn't like break
No,
character. at all. She
I
just
thought that was badass just to
that
like
was
keep
badass.
going.
Like,
Because
fuck
I would
that
have
tape.
been like, hello,
I would
just
have
stay coming
probably
up
like,
there.
yeah, like look back, like what's happening?
I'm like, why is mommy to just land on my face here? Because most likely I would have. And the thing
Yeah,
is, like, that floor was not even, I think it was carpetish looking. I don't know what it was, but it looked velvety. So your
yeah,
heels do not grip on those things. Or if they grip, they get stuck. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about the stage, like, texture, but it's my biggest fear to fall on
yeah.
stage.
Oh,
Yeah,
has it?
let's
I
not
feel
jinx
like
it.
has it happened? I'm sure it's happened, right? But please don't
There
happen to
has been,
me.
I know there has been like regional shows where some girls fall. Um, yeah, God forbid. It's okay. If you do, you just
But I feel like
get back up.
if it were to happen to anyone, I feel like it would be to me. So
Stop putting it out there in the universe.
I'm
We don't
like,
need those kind of
knock on
energies.
wood.
Hey, if you fall, you're like, that was part of my routine. Everyone.
Yeah, I was just about to get into some physique poses. Don't worry about it.
But I think figure posing is hard because, girl, I've tried to open up my lats and I look ridiculous. Maybe because I don't have lats, but I look like horrible.
Yeah, I really like Lola Montez, her like individual routine when like when she comes out and like hits that kind of almost like a men's physique shot where she's like,
Oh yeah.
like, you can't see me, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's such a powerful shot for
And
her.
it's just like with posing, it's just so little like tweaks that can make a world of a difference with your physique. It's crazy how
Mhm.
many people actually have like a crazy physique, but they don't actually showcase to the max because they
Yeah,
don't pose.
the
So,
back pose is pretty like hard for me. Like people don't realize how like
oh
arched you
yeah,
have
your
to
back has
be.
to be
I'm
like
like,
this.
ugh.
Because I always say, I'm like, your nipples need to face this back of the
Like,
stage,
oh my god, my back.
and then your hips
Can't
are facing the
handle
ground.
it.
So
Yeah.
that's totally not
It
human.
no, it feels so unnatural. It feels terrible. I hate it.
Hmm.
That one's like the hardest one for sure because like you still want to get your your adductors and your tie-ins to look good, but like
You don't want your back to
don't
hunch
really.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. For me, like honestly, I hate the back pose because I just think I'm like, if I go a little too wide, it looks like I'm bending over and spreading my legs. So there's a fine line with that
Hmm.
back pose. But isn't it like crazy? Like the way we showcase it is so like untasteful for
Bending
some
over and
people.
showing your ass to a bunch of old
Yeah,
men.
just
Yeah.
like and
I guess it
anyway, that's
is
part
what
of the
it
sport.
is.
It looks good when you're
Yeah.
shredded, but when you're not shredded, the first check-in photos back post,
So embarrassing.
I'm like, that doesn't look good. But
You
then,
know, yeah. Luckily, most of the our coaches have seen it all. They're not
yes,
shocked. You know,
yeah,
I've
they're like,
definitely checked in like
they know it's
morning
part of it.
face, like
We're not supposed
freaking
to look.
bikini line is looking a little rough, wild.
You're like, don't
It's
judge.
like, and I'm sure you've seen this before. Don't
Yeah,
look too
mine is just a little on the next level.
much.
Okay. Um, let's see. I'm gonna pull up another question. Is it true about their eggplant?
Penises. Depends on what you're referring to, but
Okay,
no,
most people
it
think
doesn't
that they have
change
small
size.
penises, okay? Because they think that the stairs shrink it, or for some reason they get chopped off. I don't know why people think that, but
As
but
far
if
as
you
I can
think,
tell, the one that I have seen has stayed the same size
well,
throughout.
throughout,
The only thing that changes is like their ball size.
hmm
That definitely, yep,
empties
shrinks
out.
a little bit. But that all has to do with like dehydrating and some of the compounds that they're on. But actual length of the eggplant stays the same.
Pristine, stays consistent.
Pristine.
Let's
Yeah.
stop saying that they have small
I know, like a
penis.
lot of people probably get the wrong idea. You see a guy on stage, and you're like, "Where is it?" But I think about like the dehydration process, like water manipulation process, like that is going to pull fluids from everything,
Temperature
and it
plays a
just
role.
might not look that great at that moment, but
No,
it has not shrink in size.
I prefer a grower than a shower, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be in my face all the time. Like
Exactly.
it can
Put it
chill, okay?
away. It's okay to be tucked in, but
Be
no.
modest. Let's keep
I
it
don't
modest
think.
here.
Okay, I don't want like. Sorry, mom. Sorry, Nick's mom. If you're like listening to this, but but like obviously, I'm not about to say something like inappropriate, but obviously, like as a female, I don't think, or personally, I would not stay with someone who has like a really small one, and then just like it doesn't make you happy. You know what I mean? Your
Yeah, yeah.
face. Really.
And that
I'm
would
not
be like,
like I don't know.
a sacrifice you would have to make if it were somebody you really love. Like if their
Yeah, I sound very
personality was
shallow
a
and
10,
superficial.
no, it's fine. If their
I just
like,
think
physical
like
appearance was a 10, but their penis was not a 10,
yeah, no,
I
I
that
don't.
would just be like a sacrifice I guess you would have to make, but
In my opinion,
luckily
that's
it
just
isn't.
my opinion. That's what I say. I think a healthy, happy marriage, relationship, whatever, involves physical attraction, emotional connection, spiritual connection, and great sexual life.
Well,
So
yeah,
I feel
you
I
just
feel like
named
if
it
there's no
all.
physical, I feel like the sex part could be a lack of the physical because there's no like desire or passion or whatever you want to call it. If there's not that, I feel like it's just like if there's a gap, and if there's that gap, it's just
Yeah,
that. I think it's an important gap, especially if you're like
yeah.
very. I don't want to say very. How do I put this without sounding vulgar? Like
Is your
you like
love
to do it.
language touch?
Like you're very
Is
sex driven. Like not sex driven. That
so
made me
is
sound.
touch your is like physical touch one of your love languages?
Yes, that's like a big one for me. That's why.
Yeah.
So it's like you show
Same
your
with
love to
Justin.
physical,
Yeah.
like touch, and that's a big one for me. So maybe for some people it's like last in the list, but that's why I said in my personal opinion, if that was like lacking, I feel like that would
Mm-hmm.
be a deal breaker for me. But
Yeah,
then
I think
again,
you definitely have to be compatible in that category in a relationship and
yeah,
kind of have the same sexual appetite. Not to say that it wouldn't work with different degrees of sexual appetite. You just have to communicate.
sexual
Yeah,
appetite.
yeah, yeah. So I think it has to be
Jasmine with the lines.
compatible. I'm just coming up with all the words. It has to be compatible in that regards. Justin's love language is physical touch and mine isn't. Mine's more like maybe acts of service, but
Yeah,
we've found ways to, make each other happy even though our love languages might be different. It just requires work on my part to remember that that's what makes him happy, and he has to do the same thing, but
you're
if
so like Nick because him is the same thing. He's like acts of service. He's not. It's physical touch is not his. It is, but it's like not his first one. I think he said he's like that's my second one. So I'm like, okay. Well, I guess we're like
yeah.
ranking them. So,
Oh.
so he. I feel like you guys are very similar, like very
Yeah,
similar, because you
I
guys are
think that
very like
it
walk
works.
away from a situation.
Yep, I
I'm
am
like
quite
very like in the moment
non-confrontational.
now.
Yeah,
It's
Justin's a fixer, and I think you're a fixer too.
yeah,
Like you want to deal with problems immediately, and whereas like I'm like I can't do this right now. Like I need to take some time and come back to it. Um, but for some reason, even though these are all these differences, we're also very alike in all the things that
yeah.
matter, like our interests, the way we see the world, are all exactly the same. Like our sense of humor, what we like to do, how we feel about things is all exactly the same. It's just these little differences that for us don't cause any issues, thankfully. Maybe
Hmm.
in other relationships it can cause issues, but it's just if it's the right person, you'll make it work.
Oh yeah, because it's never like I come as a you accept me as I am or I go. It's if you really want it, you're like come halfway. There's no like I'll change for you, I'll change for you, or changing each other to. It's like bettering each other to come to a like common grounds, to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the biggest thing that most people are like, I need to change him or he needs to change for me. No one owes you shit. You need to like also put in half the work. It's 50-50 to make 100.
Yeah, and
Wow.
on the whole that whole like people, I don't know how much people can change. I think that you can grow and
Yeah.
learn, but like really changing really intrinsic things
No,
about
because your
yourself
whole
is
life
very hard.
shaped you
Yeah.
like that, you know? And I think
Yeah.
that's what Nick said. He's like, I think at some point, I think he said that today. He's like, I think at some point you cannot change. There are certain things that are so innate, like you can no longer change.
Yeah, I
It's like,
can't just be like, "Oh, I love to physically touch," and
no.
I'm someone like that will, no matter how much I understand that maybe I would be a better partner if I were more like those things. I just like cannot. It's
Yeah.
just not who I am. It's just the fabric of my being is not made that way.
Yeah.
You know.
The- no one's cutting that fabric anymore and shaping it. Look at the metaphors here.
I love it. That was a really good one.
The fabric, honestly, the sexual appetite too. I'm like, I'm gonna say that from now
Write
on.
these down.
I'm
These
gonna
are
wake up and I'm
good.
like, what's my sexual appetite today? Am I running
Starving.
low? I'm kidding.
Satisfied. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God. But yeah, like let's just stop focusing on their things being small when do
When
your
it's not
research.
true. It's
Yeah.
not true.
No. I mean, maybe some guys want to blame it on that, but it's not. Okay,
I
let's
think it was
see.
already small.
Yeah. You're like you're just looking for a way out.
Excuse me.
Okay. Okay, we covered this one. Okay, do you train with your partner or always have to have the same training style?
I don't always train with my partner. We do go to the gym around the same time just because our routines are exactly the same. We spend pretty much 24 hours a day together, except for when he like will go off and work on at his dispensary or whatever. But we do go to the gym at the same time. We don't really train together. I do like if he'll call me over for a spot where he needs like some motivation. I'm totally there for it, but um, we don't train together. We have, and I not that I mind not mind training together. Like I am someone who probably prefers to train alone most of the time. I really like putting on my headphones and just like locking in and being in my own thoughts. But having someone to like motivate you and push you, can be really beneficial. Justin, I think, really does like to train with other people. He's had to start training alone just because we're in a really small town and there's not really anyone who is sorry to say, but like on par to
Yeah,
being
I can't keep
a
pat.
training,
Like there's a
like a
different
training
need
partner.
right now. No talking, pushing only. Not everyone
Yeah.
understands that.
Yeah, and I do like training with him on occasion. Most of the time, we train separate, but we're there together at the gym, and so he'll be like, "Hey, I need a spot," or he'll text me, "I need a spot," or I'll text him, and he'll come over and spot me, and we'll high five, good set, and like that works really well for us. But in the past, obviously, I did different things like CrossFit, so we didn't always train the same. I have
Hmm.
adapted like his sort of methodology of training. I implement a lot of the same sort of like volume, burst pause, and execution styles that he is known for, but I'll change it to like my own personal needs, and like I'll do a little bit more volume here and there, or different body parts than he does. But I don't think you have to train the same or together to make a relationship work, but it can be, something that enhances your relationship. It could
Right.
be like spending quality time together. Like, so yeah, I think we really want to, spend more time in these areas where there is more of like a bodybuilding hotspot or a community, like Vegas, like Pure Muscle. So I think he could really benefit from that
Yeah, because
environment.
it's more of a community that understands you, and I think that's why Nick likes Vegas, because even though he loves to train alone, he loves to push. Like for example, Jared, like he's been training with him just because there is a style that he is into.
Yeah.
Obviously, Matt as a coach wants him to do. Um,
Hmm.
so there are people who are on the same wavelength kind of thing. So he can actually be like, "Hey, you want to train? There's options," you know.
Yeah.
Um, but I know in like a smaller town, not everyone understands. And I also I think Nick at about the time that Justin is right now, like X weeks out, he likes to fully do things on his own. Like not even
Yeah.
me. I'm just there kind of like
Oh,
just
really? Yeah.
yeah. He likes to just lock in, oops, get it done.
Put on the music.
Yeah.
Like, don't
He
have
is
to
in and
wait for
out.
anybody else. Yeah.
There's no talking because he has no energy,
Yeah.
absolutely nothing to give
There's
to
definitely
anyone.
pros and cons for
Yeah.
training alone or with a partner.
Yeah.
Um,
And also like I think obviously people have they know now because he trains us like obviously different gyms here in Vegas. If there are fans, there is like the people who understand that there's a time and a moment to
yeah,
ask for
does
a
he find
picture.
that they're respectful and they don't just come up to him
Yes,
in the
at the
middle of his
beginning it
workout?
wasn't so much like that, and I feel like I just tell him I'm like, there's really the fact that some people are just nervous, they don't know how to act, and they just can come off as like intrusive. And I have like that empath kind of like personality, which I'm like I
Uh-huh.
put myself in their other person's
Yeah, you
shoes.
feel bad for them. I'm the
Yeah,
same way.
and I
Yeah, I'm
just say
like,
I'm like,
oh,
don't get mad. I
oh,
feel
they're
like
so
they
sweet.
just
Yeah,
don't know how to go
they
about it. They
love
don't.
you.
Yeah,
Like they love you so much. Yeah, like,
yeah,
but they
and
just probably get it so much that they're a little bit like not jaded, but maybe like desensitized to it. And
yes.
they obviously can't give every person the
No,
same amount of
especially when they're
energy
like,
because then they'll run empty, right? They'll be on
yeah,
empty if they give every person the same amount of energy, like there'll be nothing left of them. So
no.
I get it how sometimes they have to be a little bit like,
I
okay,
feel like
hi bye.
that's why I love the meets and greets, but I feel like they are tough the night before the show. I get tired being there.
Oh,
I
yeah.
I know he
All
was
that
judged
energy,
so
just like
much.
talking to people for
Yeah,
that long. Like, I'm
I know
sure
people judged
you've
him a
done it.
lot because he sat the entire time. And honestly,
Oh,
Nick
what
is
the fuck?
someone
You expect him to
who,
be standing up?
yeah,
That's not good for
no,
his
if you
look the
retain
next
quite a bit
day.
of water in your lower body, like you need to sit down. And you're still there. It doesn't mean that you're
I
being
would be sitting down
disrespectful.
with my feet like up in the air.
Yeah. But I know he got like some hate online, and and I was like, this is the shit that pisses me off, but Nick will not allow me to say anything because again, if someone's rude to me, it will make him react like poorly, and he
Yeah,
doesn't want
he's
that, right? Because he's
protective.
just being protective. But
Hmm.
I'm being protective too, and I don't like when people don't know anything and they just add 2 cents to something that they don't even know what happened. So I feel like the real fans understand. The real fans will know you're here, you showed up. You know, this is not easy, but you're still here. Like it's part of the event. Yes, you have to do it. But Nick also stays until the very end. I remember we were there. It was
A lot to ask of the athletes,
yeah,
especially
it was
like,
Laura
can't they
Lee,
do it
Jen,
after? I
and
don't
then
know. Like,
Nick, and I think there was a few other bodybuilders, but everyone else was gone. We were there until the very end. Nick is always there until the very end because obviously he usually has the longest line as well, but he never says no. Sorry guys, it's over. I'm leaving. You know, so it's just things that people
yeah.
don't look. They're like, oh, you just sat down. We're gonna judge you for
And
that.
it's unfortunate that some misconceptions were spread about him and his, you know, work ethic and commitment to make these appearances.
Oh yeah, like
Um, because,
we've been in the back end of these things as well, behind the scenes, and we know how it is. Like no one ever said no. It was just the extent to what things started to be. It was like exploiting someone. Is that the word?
Yeah. So
I don't
yeah,
wanna,
certainly
I don't
taking
want to get him in
advantage and
trouble. But it's like no
um
one knew this thing, and I
yeah.
saw it all go down, and I was like, oh my god, this is so far from the truth. And then you see the other end, and you're just like want to punch a wall because you're like, that's not how it
You
went.
want to like scream like this is what was happening, but
Yeah,
it's
you
not
can't.
really, it's not worth it for so many reasons,
No,
because you don't need someone else's validation or someone's approval to continue pursuing what you want to pursue. So fuck all of them. It doesn't really matter if they know what happened or didn't. And also, the person making these, not
statements.
accusations or claims, I guess, you know you might be mad at them for saying those things, but there's still a person on the other end, and they still have their
Their beliefs, their
business
way of
to run,
thinking.
and yeah, their beliefs, and
They see
I
things from a
it's
different perspective that
yeah,
may not make sense to us, and it just leads them to say and do things. And then that's why if the guys decide to not talk about it, then I'm like, who am I to
yeah,
just get them more shit. So I think in this industry I've learned that you work with companies, you live with companies, you make friends, but to think that the real friends always want you to do better regardless of what you do. A real friend
hmm
will always want the best for you. Business wise, it will not keep you locked in just because I think the loyalty word is very just thrown around
thrown
in
around
a
too much,
sense that
because what does it mean,
for
like,
some people it means you have to put up with everything and stay with me regardless. When loyalty is not that. Loyalty means like we are friends, we have like a deeper connection, like it's just a more meaningful relationship than other ones I have. And the loyalty I have is to always watch for your best interest. That is
yeah,
loyalty to me. Like
100%.
there's no
Regardless
I
if
made
that
you,
is
I owe you
yeah,
this. No.
regardless of if that means, that the business side of things has to end, like, loyalty to what, to you or to the company, like which
Yeah.
one was it,
Yeah,
because you can still
it makes
be
you realize
loyal to the person, but realize that you need to pursue other business adventures.
for your own good, because bodybuilding is such a short-lived high in
Yep.
life. It's not forever. So when you're in your prime, you need to maximize everything while still keeping
Yep.
your
And especially,
morals, values,
being
integrity.
older. Not
Yeah,
that he's old, but like, he's
he's
in
up
his
and
mid
coming. He's
30s.
reaching his prime. And then the thing about bodybuilding is like there is always that up and coming person that will kind of push you out of your spot. So you need to like really maximize your peak, because someone else is going to come, someone younger, and then it's time for the next generation, just like it happened over and over again with bodybuilding, right? So for someone to just restrict you from growing and branching out into a lot of things that you have talents for, I think it's a little bit unfair. And there's where the loyalty word just keeps getting a little misused. But
Agree,
hey,
100%.
that is, again, the bodybuilding industry is like great and all, but I think there are some like sides of it where working with companies and or like partnering up with friends can really just that gray area where you don't know where to separate the two. So my thing now is like, do not put your eggs in one basket, because once that thing is done with this person, then everything else in your career, if it's your like if you're with the same company for supplements, coach and everything, it's all in one basket. If one of those goes wrong, then you lose everything. So I feel like you need to branch out. It's okay to branch out to work. I feel like the more you work with other companies, it's like I think it's more diverse. It just shows more how you can't say this word, camaraderie, blah, blah. Come on, like
Camaraderie.
yeah,
I
say
don't I
it.
don't I don't I don't know if camaraderie is the one that you're looking for, maybe.
It is, Because
Like,
when companies work together, like collabs, or like, for example, Raw is like so open to like do things with other companies. Like, for example, Ghost, even though they have like their own supplement company, there's no
yeah.
limitations to
And
like,
HD has been very like, sure, yeah,
yeah,
you can team up with JP and this and
you
that.
can,
And
because they're supplements, right? And
mhm,
like, same like Celsius, the Jim Reapers, he's like lots of companies,
yeah.
And I think that's where things are like gray areas. Like, no, we have clothing, so that means you can't work with clothing. No, but you are a supplement company. That's it,
Yeah.
you know. But hey, you can make a lot of money in this industry if you do it right, and if you do it with the right people that want the best for you, you know. So
Yep. And if it feels like you connect with it, because it's hard to represent a brand that maybe you don't feel like a personal connection with their
yeah,
image
you have
or
to be
or
on
their
board with
motto.
their
Like you
purpose.
you
Yeah,
have to really believe in it. Like, and if it doesn't feel like that quite fits what you think about yourself, then everything you put out is gonna feel
fake.
disingenuous.
Yeah, it's you're not even gonna feel like posting anything, or it's
And
gonna
you're
come
like
off
you're
as
gonna
very
like
salesy.
cringe, like, oh, I don't want to post this. But
Yeah, and it just, people are so good at recognizing bullshit nowadays, because there's so much of it that when I see something, I'm like, you're not using that. Like, I know for a fact you're
people
not using
are
that.
straight up detectives. Like, they'll notice things in some of Justin's posts or whatever that are like such minuscule details. Just like, oh, he'll be wearing like different headphones, or his shoelace will be undone or something, and they're like pointing it out in the comments, or like
It's the
just
dumbest
things that'll
stuff.
happen in the background, just like small details, and people are like straight up detectives. Like,
Yeah, they don't let
they
anything go.
are looking at it with a magnifying glass. It's
Yeah,
like, oh,
because there's always something to say, whether you do the right thing, the wrong thing, whether you pose the right way, or you put together yourself together to look the part. There's always something to pick on, And it's like, all right. Like, some people shame me for my toe. Actually, Nick makes fun of me
oh,
for
you
my
can't.
toe, because
What's
my
wrong with your
second toe
toe?
is longer than my big toe. Like this
Okay,
much
I don't
longer.
know. I bet Justin won't want me revealing this information, but he has like web toes. His
Really? It's so
I think his first few are webbed. I think he got it from his mom. His mom had web toes, like,
like,
so it's like he can't like spread them all the way because he's
okay, this may
an,
sound
an,
ignorant, but
an
can he
amphibian.
swim better because of
I want, no, not right now. No,
it?
like,
No.
we went snorkeling in Hawaii last year or the year before, 2 years ago, and he was like, this is when he like had already had won nationals, and he was like pushing in a big off season.
Hmm.
So he was heavy. He was heavy, and we went snorkeling, and he about almost drowned. He was so heavy. He like we the current was kind of strong. He was like
Oh, he got tired.
struggling. Yeah.
Yeah, he
So
got tired because
we had to
fighting
get
against
a
the
little.
currents and being
He
like
almost.
heavy,
I'm laughing, but he was not.
struggling.
He was scared. It was scary. So we got him a little floaty, like
Oh,
a buoy that goes under his like hips, and then now he can like snorkel around.
it's the endurance part for
Um,
them. They just get tired if their breathing is
they just
so.
don't float anymore. They
No,
sink. Yeah.
yeah, they're little
So
anchors straight to the bottom.
no,
They go.
I'm sure if he was like 185 pounds, he'd be zipping through the water. But
Yeah,
right
no.
now, he's just sinking to the bottom.
Well, I can't swim. I for
What?
I can doggy paddle,
Oh, really? Like, you?
but I get
Not
tired
at
real quick.
all.
No, I can't. What do you call that when you stay afloat in one spot? Tread water.
Tread water. Yeah.
I cannot do
You
that.
can.
I'll
You can't do
stop
that.
and I'll
Oh,
sink and
really?
I'll start drowning. I actually almost drowned when
Oh
I was
no.
10 years old in a
Oh
river, like
no.
back home. And my mom came to get me out. But when you're like drowning, you feel you don't know, you can't think. So the first thing I
You're
wanted to do,
panicking. Yeah.
yeah. So I was drowning my mother to get like my
Oh
head
yeah,
out of the
that's really
water.
common. Yeah, you're like
You start
scrambling,
you
like
start drowning the person that's trying to help you. So a third
you're
person
shoving
had to
them
come
down into
in
the water.
and get us
Oh,
out
that's
because
scary.
I was drowning my mom.
Oh my gosh.
She's probably like, I should
I
just let you go.
yeah, this daughter.
But yeah, no, I still don't know how to drown. How to drown. I still don't know how to swim, even though my mom, as a kid, put me in like 2 courses to learn how to swim.
Yeah. Swimming, like actually swimming, like in a sport setting is so hard. Like I started trying to learn how to like competitively swim for CrossFit because there's some like swimming
Yeah,
events
you
and
guys, there are some
competitions,
lakes and
and
stuff.
it humbled the fuck out of me. It was so difficult. You just like, actually like breaststroke swimming, like it was so fucking hard. You just it makes you like panic if you can't
Well,
breathe.
because the
So,
pressure
and
under
then
the
you're
water for
holding
your
your
breathing is
breath, and then
different.
if
Yeah.
you don't get your breath right when you like turn it to the side, you're
Yeah.
like fuck, and then it was really hard.
Oh,
So
I
yeah, I
bet.
can I can like do this whole thing pretty well, but like
I
actually
can do
competitively
this.
swimming, I applaud competitive swimmers. It's hard.
Yeah, I
It's hard.
bet. Because your breathing has to be like on par, like
Yeah,
very
there's
well
like, and I was
coordinated.
heavy, so I sank, like my bottom half sank, my legs were heavy, and you have to like hold breath like in your entire body so that it lifts your like lower half up. So like, yeah, learning how to like hold that breath, not just like up here, but like fill
Sounds difficult.
your body with the air to like elevate yourself, and then like the kicking style of like yeah.
Even that, like I've
If you're
seen
a
the. Is
swimmer,
this the
good job.
butterfly? The one that they go like.
Oh god, yeah. Oh.
That looks
Oh
hard.
my god, my shoulders after trying to swim. Oh,
Yeah, because
it's so painful.
you're like pushing all
You're
that
just like,
water.
yeah, you're rotating and you're, oh god, I can't. My shoulders hurt so bad after swimming. It's just
Yeah, I don't know.
the shit.
CrossFit people are just built different.
Y'all are
Especially like these
crazy.
I would watch these CrossFit games and I was like, how is that humanly
It's
possible?
so impressive. It really, like the top level athletes, just what they're capable of, the amount of training they have to do. It's just amazing. Like,
Who's my
being
favorite? I
strong
think it
and
was
fast.
Tia.
Yeah, the winner. She just had a
And then
baby.
what's the other one? Catherine?
Katrin, yeah, she's like Icelandic.
Yeah,
David's daughter. Yeah.
yeah. And then for
It's
the
really
guys,
incredible.
it was a Matt.
Matt
No,
Frazier, yeah. He
yes,
was he
he was my
won
fave.
like 5 or something.
That's insane.
It's just what they're capable of. It's really, apart from the silly pull-ups that everyone likes to make fun of, like what these athletes are capable of is just unbelievable. Like
Yeah.
you have to run a 5-minute mile and then like also be capable of like back squatting,
And
over
it's like
400
different
pounds. And
terrains, different temperatures. The whole thing is like completely. There are so many factors that can actually slow you down or actually become such a big, uh, like not obstacle, but a challenge for you to complete the thing. Like
yeah,
I don't
my
know.
husband's little sister, Jordan, she uh, started competing a couple years ago, and she's still in it. She's still doing it. She has a competition in September, and she's pretty good. Like she's got the tenacity, and she did gymnastics, I think, when she was younger, so she kind of picked those up a little quicker.
Yeah,
But
that's
I see her.
crazy.
I see her in the gym today, just like killing herself, like dying, and I'm just like, I do not
I
miss
miss
that
that.
at all.
You just are like, just
Like,
my rest period right
ooh,
now.
looks like it sucks. Yeah, that sucks. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go do the shoulder press.
I did CrossFit 3 times. I
You
was like
did?
so excited. I even bought the Reebok like
No,
shoes
the
with.
nanos. Oh my gosh, I
I
love
got those,
them.
and then I still have like a CrossFit Reebok sports bra because I like it. But I bought outfits, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get
Yeah,
into
there's a
this.
look. There's like a definitely a CrossFit look, like the
Yes,
like
you get
booty
the
Leo shorts,
shorts, the
the like
shoes.
noble muscle tank top. Like
Yeah,
there's
because
definitely
everything has
a
to be in
look.
place, right? Because everything is like
Yeah,
so high impact
you
that.
pretty much strip it off as soon as you start
Oh no,
working
I
out.
was like,
Yeah.
I threw up on one of them because the coach kept on like saying, keep going. And I was like, I am no bitch. I'm going to finish
I
this.
can't.
And
I can't do it.
no, I finished it, but I went straight to puke because I've never puked during a
Yeah.
training session. but that was
Yeah,
like borderline extreme. I was like, I think I'm
it is
Ricketts
pretty
strength.
extreme.
And then I was
Yeah.
like completely useless for the next week. My body was insanely sore.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people who go into it, like not a lot of people. I don't think it's that common, but if you go into it and you like push yourself to that extreme, you can get rhabdo pretty easily. Like, and that's could be from, repetitive movements, especially like core movements. So if you're like a newbie and you go in and you're doing like a bunch of core movements, you can have the potential of getting rhabdo, and rhabdo's extremely serious.
What is
So
that?
so that's like when your body can't flush out all the lactic acid, and it just builds up, and then like your organs can shut down. So you'll like notice they'll just like puff up, swell up, and then piss like Coca-Cola. And I think frick who Ross Flanagan, I think he had rhabdo last year. I
Oh
don't
my
know what.
God.
I might be lying. My information might be wrong, but I think he had it last year, and it was pretty crazy.
That sounds dangerous. And I wasn't aware
Yeah,
of
I
that
think
actually.
Dana Lynn Bailey got rhabdo one time from CrossFit and like was in the hospital.
Oh my God. I didn't
Crazy.
I didn't think that was possible that your body just can't get rid of
Yeah, it
that
like just
much
can't
lactic
flush
acid.
out that lactic acid, and you just like literally start dying. It's
Yeah, because
crazy.
it's acidic. So you go into an acidic, like completely
Yeah, your
unbalanced
body like just shuts
inflammation.
down. Mm-hmm.
Holy
Bad.
freaking hell. Okay,
Careful
well,
out there, kids.
start gradually. Do
Yeah.
not try to let the
Build up.
ego take over. Yeah, because it's mostly ego. You're like, you either hurt yourself or you end up having,
Well, you're just like in this like frenzy, and maybe if you're a really competitive person, some of those
yeah.
class settings where you are like competing with other people, you might get a little crazy.
I remember I felt like, that taste of blood in your mouth, in your
Start
throat.
tasting like pennies, yeah, like
Yeah.
in your lungs. They call that in CrossFit Fran, Fran lung. It's like named after a workout that like sends you into that state of like feel like you're tasting blood because you're just breathing
Yeah.
so heavy. Yeah.
That's crazy. But hey, I get to say that I did it and it was not for me. Definitely not
You
for
tried
me.
it. You
I tried
tried
it.
it. Yeah.
Now I want to try like Pilates. That's like the
Yeah. I feel
rich
like that.
people's thing.
I feel like my flexibility is not so good anymore. It used to be pretty good, but like the more muscle you get, like
You get more stiff just because of
obviously,
muscle mass.
obviously, like this is not true for like fitness girls. Like they're still super
Tell me
flexible, but
how
like
Andrew Jack can do a split on stage.
I don't. I think did he do gymnastics as a kid or
I have no
something? Like
idea. But every time I watch a video or when I saw him on stage, I was like, he's not doing the splits in front of my eyes right now.
and I think the hardest category ever has got to be fitness.
It,
Like
but isn't it
that
funny that it
that
doesn't
is
get
so hard.
like,
Like, can
dude,
you imagine being
you have to get
the
lean, get
and then
build,
also
and then
do
also do
backflips?
a whole motherfucking routine and keep up with your
No
mobility.
way. There's no way. Like, could you imagine that last week of prep? Like,
My thing
also
is, how do you
practicing
dry out?
some.
Your joints are literally sandpaper. How the hell do you do all these flips without
I know
feeling
because
like
they
you're
they
breaking?
do they do get extremely conditioned, but I think so. Like they peak for that the prejudging, and then they're not judged on their physique when they
For the
do their
routine?
routine. Yeah, so they can like
Oh, okay. Because
hydrate and do
I
what they need to do
always
to feel
wonder,
better. But it's still like,
because that
hmm,
if I pull the freaking muscle from just posing from dehydration, that's why I'm like,
can you imagine trying to do a backflip? Yeah.
how the hell?
I mean,
Yeah,
they're
no,
obviously practicing it, so like their body is
it's
used to doing
yeah,
those movements. But
adapted.
like, I have so much respect for
Me
fitness
too.
competitors because that is just
It's the most
insane.
entertaining too. Like we have to worry about a suit and we complain about our hair, makeup. These girls have to
they
worry about a
they have
freaking
to put
costume,
together. Yeah,
like a
I love.
suit, like a
I
whole
really love
outfit.
Missy Trescott's shark
She always
at
goes
the
all out.
Olympia.
I know. Her routines are
That was
always
a lot of fun.
so like entertaining and like dynamic. You know how like Earth, he's like very
Yeah.
entertaining on stage. I was not expecting it. The first time I watched him, he was all like
When he does the
serious, and then he
worm.
starts to like, yeah, to dance. And he used to be a break dancer. That's why he's like,
Yeah, that is fun. I when I met him at Pure, I was like, "Whoa, you are huge right now." He is
he
so
is.
big. He's
I
like
saw him at the
200.
Arnold, but that was the last time. He's so funny and like cool.
He's like 280 right now, 6'2", gigantic. So
Oh my
funny though,
fuck,
but yeah,
really?
big guy.
Nick is 292 as of this morning,
Yeah.
but
Well,
he's lean. No, than last
yeah,
time.
he looks good.
I don't know
He
how.
looks really good.
He's like, "Ah, I feel
I think
fat."
just like the more you put your body through those like
Yeah, you get
phases,
better at.
yeah, you just improve. And he gets
He's so
older and he
resilient.
improves. Yeah.
So resilient. Bodies are really resilient. Even when it comes to like girls coming back to health, because he was like today, he's like, you don't keep up with your supplements like I do, your health supplements. He's like, but then your blood work come back so perfect. And I'm like, well, you just keep your body time, and then it can
Yeah, and you're
just
obviously
fix
not
itself.
putting yourself through that, as extreme as he
Yeah.
is. Like,
Well,
they're putting on 20 pounds of muscle, and we're like, I put on like 4.
that's if, because for
Yeah,
females, I think we can put on like max 1 to 2 a year. And when you age, you actually decrease
yeah.
the capacity of muscle production. It actually decreases. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm like, I'd be lucky if I'm a pound. But now I'm like, I feel the difference in my body. I've never been. I'm 127.8 as of this morning, and I feel good. Like I feel like I have like a good fullness in the right places. But I've been eating a little, not
Eating
shit,
eating
but
more. Oh,
yeah, I'm like more
I see
flexible.
your story. I see your
Yeah, I don't
story. I see
hide
what
it
you've
because
been
I'm like,
through.
I eat freaking tortilla chips.
I feel like I'm so full from the amount of food that I'm eating that like I don't have
Are your
like the
fats
desire.
high?
Yeah, they're so high. Is Nick's fats high? Because he's
They
got this. We have the
were,
same
because I
coach
think
now.
Matt likes to like go high
He
fats.
likes fat. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like eating steak and adding avocado. Like,
Yeah, there's a lot of added
and
fats. Like
yeah,
he
so
enjoys his
I'm like
almond butter,
so full and satiated that like the desire and the like want to like eat bad things like that. I just don't have it. Like,
which is
I am a big foodie.
perfect.
Like, I love food. I can eat like in a diet setting. I want to eat everything. Like, give me all the cookies, but like right now, I just Justin's like showing me videos of like donuts, and
Food.
I'm like, no thanks.
He's like, please eat one in front of me.
He
No.
has been trying to vicariously live through me a little bit. Like,
See, like
go ahead,
I
you should
remember
eat
Nick was
it. I'm
like,
like,
eat
I don't
whatever you
want
want. I
it.
don't care. But for the Arnold, I think I was like, he was 3 or 4 weeks out, and I was like, I'm really craving Chipotle. I think I'm gonna get one. He looked at me like he was about to kill
Was he
me.
mad?
Yeah, he's like, don't bring anything around me. He's
You're like,
like,
fine, I'll
this
eat it
is
in the
not.
car.
And I was like, okay, you're suffering. So I'm like, oh, that's fine, no problem.
You,
I'm like, I don't need it.
a couple times I've like eaten it in the car and then like thrown it away in the outside trash so that he doesn't see it.
Okay, I've been like, you know what? Because he's so on point with everything that sometimes I feel like shit. I feel like a fat ass because he's like he's like, I don't think I need a cheat meal. So then I'm like, I want a cheat meal. And sometimes he's like, go for it. But I'm like, I feel bad if I'm the only one eating and you're just
I mean,
watching.
if he has it in his plan, he should do it.
He does.
It's
He did start doing it. But then one time we went to Five Guys. We
he's a
started
big
doing
fan.
all these like
Okay.
steak dinners, like very fancy dinners.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did the fucking Five Guys. Never again because both of
Did you not
us,
like it?
no, we just, next day we felt so shitty. I don't know
Probably
if it
from all the
was
sodium, maybe.
this.
Like,
Yeah, the sodium just killed us. And then Matt was like, you guys need to start just doing straight up like high quality cheat meals. So Then
Yeah,
we're like,
me and Justin always will like take advantage of those opportunities and like go
day
on a
nights.
date and go somewhere
But don't you
nice,
feel like sometimes you don't feel like getting ready? You just want that, like, just like sweatpants kind of
like
date, still a
like getting all
date.
ready. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well,
then it's spending all that money because the place we love is like $400 a night that we go.
yeah.
So
Well,
if
you're
you
in
do that every
Vegas, so you
weekend,
probably you have a lot of like people who are dressing up crazy to
yeah,
go out to dinner.
because
Here
most of
where
these
we
places are in
are,
casinos, right?
yeah,
So
here where
then,
we are, we don't have people are like going out to dinner in their sweatpants. So it's like the pressure is not that high to like look my best. I do like to like dress. I love fashion and I like to dress
I
up
know you put
when
on
I
like
can.
you put on some like you put together some outfits that I'm like I will not be able to pull that off. But you just pull it off because
I
you have
really
like a cool
street
style.
like
Yeah.
streetwear style, like New York streetwear or like LA streetwear. Like I'm really like I gravitate towards this kind of like funky outfits. So those are pretty easy and like usually comfortable. So like going out with
How did you
like
find your
an
style?
oversized stuff.
You know, because I feel like I'm like, what's my style?
I think like obviously like Instagram, I I follow a lot of like outfit pages, and
Yeah.
a lot of them are like streetwear kind of girls and like outfit inspiration from like streetwear girls, and then um like watching New York on Instagram is a really interesting page, and it's just this guy who like photographs like people out and about in New York and like their outfits, and I love following that. And then um, Goat is like an app where you can like buy shoes and stuff, but they also have like a section where like there's a lot of pictures of um,
Outfit
different like
inspo?
outfit inspiration, or like like New York or like Paris Fashion Week, or like events that people go
Oh,
to that like dressed up and stuff, and I kind of like get my inspiration maybe from like those sort of events. But
yeah.
right now it's really hard to put together outfits when I'm like don't fit into any of my clothes, so
Yeah, that's
most of it is
another
just like
thing. I'm like, some stuff
oversized.
just like looks good when I have abs, and I'm just like, ugh. Like for example,
Like the
the
cute
low
crop
hip.
tops and the
Yeah,
yeah, I can't
like
wear
the
that right now.
parachute
There's
like
no
pants.
way.
I'm like, I need to
Yeah,
show
how do you
some.
like those parachute pants?
See, I was walking around and I'm like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I make a lot of sound.
I'm okay with it though. Like I'll wear some like obnoxious stuff that's like loud and or like weird, and I don't care if it makes noise or whatever.
I didn't care. It was just like new. But then also I'm like, I'm so short, but like you're short too, but like I just feel like you just I don't know if it's because I look at myself the way that I look that I don't know what my style is, but I feel like I just look at you as like this cool like badass woman that can pull it off, like some
You
baggy
just have to like
stuff.
wear what you like with confidence, like obviously probably pick things that like suit your body type or whatever, or that you feel comfortable in. But like I've always people always kind of ask me that same question, like how do you pull that off? And like I just wear it and like wear it with confidence, like even if it's kind of ugly, like
Hey,
like
that's
wear it with confidence, and people will like oh my god, that's so cool. Even if it's ugly and it's like
I feel like if you
something I
believe it
got a
so hard,
grandma
people.
sweater from Goodwill, like I'm just like
Oh, that's
rock
another
it.
thing. I try to, what do you call it, thrift store, like thrift shopping, whatever it's called. When I
Yeah,
went in there,
secondhand.
I'm like, what? Where do I start? And I'm like, what am I looking for really? So
I
I
I
had
have
to
a
walk
hard
out
time.
because I was
I
like,
have a
no.
hard time with like going into a store like that, because there's some people out there who can like see the potential of the clothes on the rack. I feel like I have to be like shown like curated pieces that like on like I can buy like vintage stuff online, but like going into like Goodwill can sometimes be hard for me to like
Yeah, because you have to have
see the
ambition
potential.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm like
and then
I
create
don't.
it because I don't
And
think
then
it's
I'll
like,
see like people on Instagram or TikTok like do their thrift hauls and like what they turn it into, and I'm like, I would have never thought of that. Like, so that's
yeah.
I have to like I like vintage pieces, but I kind of have to like shop on like sites that
It's been
people have like
curated.
picked it out already
Yeah. And
and are
done something
selling
with
it,
it,
you know? Yeah.
or like kind of design it a certain way so you have an idea what to do with it.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I have zero creativity to even think of what to put together as is. Like if I go on a store like Aritzia, I go and I'm like, okay, well, where does this go with? Like, I just buy separate pieces, but then I'm like, well, this is not an outfit. Then I'm like, well, I still need shit in in my closet because most of my stuff
Yeah.
is
You're like,
workout stuff. And then I
mhm.
have like the oversized t-shirts from like HD, but then I'm like, I don't have any graphic tees, or if I get something, it's very girly, but I'm like, what the fuck is my style? So
Yeah.
that's why
It
the
can be
other day
hard
you're
to
like, is that
find.
really a trend?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't fucking know.
Oh, the
Everyone's wearing
black
these
sock.
dad shoes and
Yeah. I
they're
was like, oh,
so
I didn't know
comfortable.
black sock. Yeah.
I love them because
I
they're
didn't know
comfortable.
black. Maria told me that black socks, like tall black socks, were trending, and I was like, I didn't. What? I didn't know this.
It was just like the whole outfit, like starting with the sweat shorts and then the dad shoes and then high socks. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I asked Nick, I'm like, do I look weird? He's like,
Did he say
well,
yeah?
I really don't know what to say. He's just like, it's just different. And I'm like, I'll take it.
Like maybe, but
And I'm like, I'm
I'll
wearing
let
my
it
dad
slide.
shoes.
I thought
He's
they were
like, I
cute.
don't, I don't like it.
I loved dad shoes. I have some Aces, like they're like silver, like running shoes, but they're you see like a lot of like girls wearing it in the street where I'm looking at them right now. But like Bella Hadid or like
Yeah, they
Hailey
are.
Bieber,
There's
like
like,
they're those kinds. Yeah.
yeah, they have, I think I saw Courtney wearing them actually. It's like the Nike. They
Hmm.
have like the silver, but they also looks like a hybrid of Nike and Asics.
Yeah.
And it's like
I
silver,
like
like the shiny silver.
like Hailey Bieber's like outfits or like
I
Bella
want her
Hadid,
hand
like their street
tattoos.
style.
Like you know
I know. I
how
want to get. I have like one like all these little guys. I want to get some more.
yeah, I'm like, I'm getting hand tattoos. And he's like, no.
Let's go.
So I'm like,
Let's.
you're getting fucking tattoos.
I'll come to Vegas and we'll go to like a walk-in store or
Yeah,
something and
we'll
just
just get a bunch of like little
put them
like
out.
random
Tat it.
arrows shit. And I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, you literally. I don't think any of them have like any particular design. They're just like
yeah,
squiggles
it's
and
just
dots
lines,
and
little dots with like, and it just looks so good.
yeah,
But then I'm like, I'm all tatted up with my
yeah,
mom's
tat
name.
it up.
I'm tatted up. It's just my mom's name. But
That's awesome.
yeah.
I know. I Justin put the kibosh on tattoos for me. Like, I'm not allowed to get any more as long as I'm like. I mean, I can get like little ones, right? But like,
Yeah.
he's right. You know, like if I'm interested in competing and pursuing something further, I need to
Yeah, the more you
chill.
cover up, the less
Yeah,
definition
I
you're
mean,
going
I
to
have
get.
this whole freaking sleeve, and I got this before I
Yeah.
knew what I was getting
But you
myself
only
into
have
with
that one sleeve? Do
bodybuilding.
you have anything
Yeah,
like
the other one's blank, so
okay. Okay.
they
Well, at
can
least you
just
have that one
imagine what
too.
you see on that side on the other
Yeah,
side.
you're like it's just a little
Double it.
darker, but this
Yeah.
is exactly what it looks like. Yeah, it takes away. So, yeah, hold off on
Yeah.
that. Because it's just part of it, right? I know some girls that really tatted up, but you don't see them like too elite
No, I
or like
don't think that they ever. I mean, I know some do well, but yeah, I
yeah.
don't. None of them are at the top.
Yeah. It's just part of it, right? So, but yeah, I think we've covered quite a lot about bodybuilders. What's your main like takeaway if like there's someone struggling with like a relationship in general? Okay, let me put it a different way. What are your like just like I said, like what I need in a relationship, like physical touch. What do you think are the main things that you need in a partner or as partners to have a
To
relationship
have a
that's like
successful relationship.
yeah.
Yeah. So independence is one. Being independent, I think, is a quality that you need to have to make it work. Communication is a big one. And then willingness to be supportive even when you don't maybe agree with what they're doing, or if maybe you don't see the point. Like, this would probably be for someone who is not a bodybuilder themselves. Like, be supportive even when you don't understand what they're doing.
Or talk it out so you can guide. So
Tough it out. Yeah, tough it out, bitch.
it's like be willing and open minded to learn or listen to why they're doing it, perhaps, or what they want to get out of it, or what it means to them. Because sometimes I feel like what it means to them means that it's something that it's a non-negotiable, and you either have to understand it, or maybe that's not the person for you. Because there's no change in that
100%.
and communication. But
Big one. Yeah.
that's it.
That's something I'm still working on myself. Like,
We
Justin's a
all
really great,
are. Because I think I said
Justin's
it.
a great communicator. However, I'm not, but he is helping me be better. So
I think yeah, it's something that takes time, especially because I said in a previous episode, communication is not just telling things; it's how you say them and how you communicate. Like there are ways to set up a conversation, because sometimes you're like, "Oh, I'm trying to communicate," but then you start off by saying, "Well, I don't like this," or you're like, you could start by saying how you frame it, like, "I just wanted to tell you how this makes me feel." There are other ways to approach a situation, because communicating can look aggressive and defensive, or it can look um, hey, I'm willing to open up to you and let you know how I feel, and then kind of talk it out and see how we can make it work. Because I've learned that with Nick. There are ways to communicate, because
sensitively, yeah,
communicating can come in different forms.
gentle communication. Yeah,
Yeah, it's key how you approach, and the aura and energy that you have going in. So that will determine how it will end, right? But yeah,
100.
well, I think we've been at it for about almost 2 hours. So we talked a lot. But I
Did.
think we cover very important topics, and obviously things that people are always wondering. Or maybe they're trying to figure out and navigate a relationship that they may not understand, because obviously bodybuilding is a very, very self-centered, kind of narcissistic, selfish in a way, kind of sport. So it does take either doing it for you to understand it, or being open to understand it. And if you feel lost or down, like, know that it's part of it. You just have to figure out within you why you're lacking, and why you may be portraying those things, or why you may be thinking that what they do is personal. It's
Yeah.
their thing. You sort it out, you work it out together. So yeah, thanks, Jazz, for making obviously time to be with us today and share obviously your journey and everything about your relationship and your kind of where you're at right now in life, and become vulnerable, because I feel like there needs to be a level of vulnerability in order for people to become for you to become relatable. So
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
yeah, so we're looking forward to perhaps having you on other episodes. And obviously, guys, let us know if you have any specific topics that you want us to touch on, whether it's fitness, anything we can talk
Life. Yeah.
about anything.
Awesome.
Let me be mature and be like, we can talk about sex appetite again.
Whatever. Yeah, we're open.
Yes, exactly. So that being said, we're just gonna end this here, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and share if you liked, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.